All right, let's dive into something that honestly feels like it's been ripped straight from a modern techno thriller, but I promise you, it's very real. We're talking about a piece of technology that could fundamentally change naval warfare as we know it. And it all kicks off with this one single image that has defense watchers everywhere buzzing.
Just like that. One day, satellites see it sitting there in a dry dock. The next day, it's gone, vanished into the deep. This is the story of that steel shark and what it means for the future of war at sea.
So what are we actually looking at here? Well, its official name is the AJX-002. The technical term is an extra-large unmanned underwater vehicle, or XLUUV for short. But let's be real, what it represents is a whole new class of weapon. This is a potential game changer.
0. That is the most important number to know about this submarine. It's the number of people on board. This is a true ghost ship. No crew quarters, no mess hall, no sailors. It is completely autonomous, a world first in this kind of high-tech naval design, likely guided by an AI that never sleeps, never gets tired, and never blinks.
And when you take out the crew, you free up a ton of space. And what do you fill that space with? Power. A massive lithium-ion battery system, which is a huge leap forward, gives this thing a jaw-dropping range of over 2,000 nautical miles. That is far enough to cross huge stretches of ocean and then just wait. It can loiter silently for months, a patient predator waiting for the signal to strike.
And this right here is maybe the most crucial part. It's cheap. I mean, cheap is a relative term, right? But for about what it costs to build 2 J-20 fighter jets, China gets this incredibly persistent, incredibly lethal naval weapon. It's a platform that's designed from the ground up to be expendable.
Oh, and don't for a second think this is just some unarmed scout. No. The AJX-002 is a killer, and a versatile one at that. Its payload bay is modular, meaning it can be kitted out for all kinds of missions. It can lay a field of smart mines to hunt other submarines, fire heavyweight torpedoes at warships, or even launch cruise missiles that can hit targets 500 kilometers inland.
So, the big question is, why? Why build these cheap, expendable robot subs? Well, it's all part of a really radical new way of thinking about naval power, a strategy that basically flips the traditional rulebook on its head.
The idea here isn't to build a fleet that can meet the U.S. Navy head-on in some massive battle. The strategy is called asymmetric sea denial. You don't try to control the sea, you just deny it to your opponent. You flood a whole area with hundreds of these cheap, smart, deadly drones. You create a moving, thinking, underwater minefield. And you make it so dangerous that a $10 billion aircraft carrier simply can't risk sailing through.
And this is where the simple math behind it all really kicks in. Look at the difference. A U.S. Virginia-class nuclear submarine is basically a floating city. It's got 140 sailors who need food, supplies, a secure port. The logistical tail is massive. The AJX-002, you need a crane, a truck, and a laptop. You just can't mass-produce nuclear subs, but you can definitely crank these things out.
There's a famous saying, often attributed to Stalin, that perfectly sums this up. It's like a chess game. The U.S. has been building these incredibly powerful, expensive queens. China is now building hundreds, maybe thousands of pawns that can pop up anywhere on the board and threaten those queens.
But here's the thing. This killer submarine, as important as it is, isn't happening in a bubble. It's really just the tactical tip of the spear of a much, much bigger strategic change that's happening inside China's military, a change that is casting a very long nuclear shadow.
According to official U.S. government reports, what we're seeing is China undertaking its most significant military expansion since it first got the bomb back in the 1960s. In fact, one top U.S. admiral called it a breathtaking expansion. That's not a word they use lightly.
For decades, China's nuclear arsenal evolved pretty slowly. The goal was always what they called a minimal, credible deterrent, just enough to make anyone think twice. But this current phase, it's totally different. This isn't just evolution anymore. It's a massive, across-the-board acceleration. They're aiming for something much closer to being a nuclear peer.
And you can see that acceleration in the hard numbers. The Pentagon projects that China's stockpile of operational nuclear warheads is on track to double in the next 10 years, jumping from the low 200s to over 400.
So what's really happening here is that they're building a full nuclear triad. And that's the gold standard. It means you can launch a nuclear attack from land-based missiles, from submarines at sea, and from bombers in the air.
By building up all three, especially with new missile subs and a huge expansion of their land-based missiles, they're creating a truly survivable second strike force.
Okay, so when you have this rapid buildup of advanced conventional weapons, like our killer sub, happening at the same time as this massive nuclear expansion, you get a new reality. And it's a dangerously complicated one, with new rules and some really profound new risks.
One of the key risks is a concept called entanglement. This is what happens when the lines get blurry. Imagine a missile launcher that could fire either a conventional warhead or a nuclear one, or a command bunker that controls both kinds of forces. How do you attack the conventional threat without the other side fearing you're actually trying to take out their nuclear weapons? It gets very messy, very fast.
And if that's not scary enough, add this to the mix, a move towards a launch-on-warning posture. This is a hair trigger. It means you don't wait for a nuke to actually hit you. The second your satellites and radar tell you missiles are incoming, you launch yours in response. The time you have to make a world-ending decision shrinks from hours to just a few minutes, and the chance of a catastrophic mistake goes through the roof.
So here's how this could all go horribly wrong. Picture this. There's a crisis, maybe over Taiwan. The US decides to strike what it believes is a purely conventional missile site, but because of entanglement, it's not. That same site is part of China's nuclear command. Beijing panics, thinks its nuclear deterrent is about to be wiped out, and suddenly faces that terrible use-it-or-lose-it pressure. And just like that, in the fog of war, a conventional fight goes nuclear.
So let's bring it all back to that steel shark that slid into the water and disappeared. The arrival of these autonomous killing machines, combined with this new nuclear reality, means we're looking at a completely new naval chessboard. The old rules might not apply anymore.
And that leads to the huge tactical question that everyone in the Pentagon and beyond is asking. If you can flood the ocean with hundreds of cheap, smart, and lethal robot submarines, what's the point of a $12 billion aircraft carrier with 5,000 souls on board? Does it just become a giant floating target?
At the end of the day, the technology is just a tool. The real story here is about the new strategies, the new doctrines, the new thinking this technology allows. From swarms of autonomous drones to the terrifying entanglement of conventional and nuclear weapons, the fundamental rules of conflict are being rewritten right before our eyes. The game is changing. The only question is, who is writing the new rules?